Hello, everyone, and welcome to Police Off the Cuff, Real Crime Stories. I'm your host, retired NYPD Sergeant Bill Cannon, 27-year veteran of the NYPD. We have a really interesting show for you guys tonight. First of all, even though it's somewhat older news, but it's not everyone watched it, not everyone interpreted it. And of course, that's the new interview with Chris and Debra Sterns. And that's the picture on the right. Isn't really what they look like today. That's probably like a 10 or 12-year-old picture. But they seem like a really nice couple. And a podcast by the name of Hidden True Crime interviewed them. And I think that the Sterns didn't like the way they were being portrayed on many, many podcasts. They actually called me on the phone. They first reached out to me on LinkedIn, and then they called me on the phone. And I would not like to disparage people like that. I understand what they're going through. We can all blame them for having a horrific son, but how much of that is their responsibility? Well, we'll talk about that. But because of the way they were being portrayed on social media and on podcasts, they felt that they had to somewhat defend themselves. And that's why they went on Hidden True Crime. And I don't think I watched the show today. I don't think they broke any new ground other than the interview that was from March 6th. That really said just about everything that the Hidden True Crime interview said. As I said, there was no new ground broken, but you can look at the Sterns and you can hear some of the things they talk about vis-a-vis Jennifer Soto, vis-a-vis Madeline Soto, and of course their son, Stephan Sterns. And even though they try to keep a positive mental attitude for their own lives and their own well-being, there are some things I think are hard to understand, both as a parent and a retired law enforcement officer, and for you guys, just regular civilians and people that follow true crime. Like, well, is that how I would react if this was my son? And if this was the son that did these horrific things they're all alleging, would I react like that? That's a question I think we all have to answer, and we all have to ask ourselves. Anyway, folks, this should be a really interesting show tonight, and I'm glad you guys all came in from across the world to watch your favorite true crime show, Police Off the Cuff. So hang on to your hats, your wigs, your relatives, your friends, your family, your favorite drink, your cup of coffee, because you're about to enter true crime from a police perspective. You're about to enter the off the cuff zone, the police popo off the cuff zone. There has to be some common sense.
Yes, sir. They have the car stopped at 10th and Ranch Michael by there.
We still don't know who pulled the trigger.
You know, joining me in tonight's show is always a crowd favorite, one of my favorites, of course. And he's a retired NYPD sergeant. He's a professor at Albertus Magnus College in Connecticut. He's an attorney. He does a million things. He even hears confessions after the show. Welcome to the show, Professor Michael Geary. Welcome, Mike.
Hey, William. Good evening. Good to see you. Welcome, everyone. Welcome.
You know, Mike, we're getting a lot of people from all over the world coming to see us. I don't know. There was a guy, actually, Michael Geary, who was friends with Jennifer Coffendaffer, the FBI.
Okay.
And he's originally from Long Island. His dad was originally NYPD. He spells his name different than you, Mike. G spells
Okay.
G-I-E-R-Y. But
Okay.
Michael Geary, if you're listening,
Close
thank you
enough.
for that. He sent me a great message on Messenger. Thank you so much, and appreciate all you guys from across the world that are making Police Off the Cuff what it is. We just crossed 75,000 subscribers, and it's all because of you guys sharing us with your friends, your family, and we appreciate that. Anyway, let's get right into it. I don't want to keep selling. Suhaila, good to see you. I love that blue heart. Katerina Fodlova, Professor Mike, she gave you a red heart. I don't know
Thank
what
you.
that means, Mike, but everyone's loving you. Anyway,
I have a fan.
you have a fan. That's
I have
right,
a fan.
Mike.
Thank you.
You got a fan. That's great. So, Mike, you watched the interview from
Yeah.
Hidden True Crime, right? Of
Yes.
the Debra and Chris Sterns. Now, you cannot help but feel a bit sorry for them, even though you hate their son with a passion. And I don't want to feed those words to you, but I can't stand their son with a passion. And I cursed the people that created him. But yet, when you see the parents in an interview, again, you cannot help but feel sorry for them. Mike.
Yeah, I said this a while ago when we were talking about the Koberger case, and you had Michael and Marianne Koberger, and I said, people should always remember the 4 who were killed, those 4 young people, but also pray for the Kobergers because that family has been destroyed by what happened. It's the same thing here. My heart does go out to Chris and Debra Stern because it's easy to throw bombs at somebody and criticize somebody, but then what happens if it was you? And you got to imagine walking in their shoes. I could not imagine what it would be like to have one of my children be accused of a horrific crime against a child, killing them and abusing them. I don't know how I would react. And when I hear the interview and I hear what they say, they're upset about people saying mean things about them. If you want to attack their son, that's one thing. But to say that they created this monster. Look, they babied him. But a lot of parents baby their children, or there's a mama's boy or daddy's little girl or whatever. But they don't turn into a horrible monster like this guy. My heart goes out to them because they are suffering too. Could you imagine what it would be like to have your child accused of a horrific crime like that?
But, Mike, I want to read some of the comments in the chat to see, and this is understandable.
Yeah.
DOTMH, I don't feel bad for them. They raised the monster and continue to enable him. I understand, DOTMH.
I understand, sure.
Marianne Nolan, these parents are sick. The mother, the most, though. Bobo, you use instincts and could tell Jen lied and was involved. His parents missed red flags. Maddie's dead. That's my sympathy. Bobo, I'm sort of in the same camp as you. Kerry Hall. Hey, Sergeant Bill, Professor Mike from Australia. Welcome. I guess not many of you are feeling sorry for the Sternses. However, some of the things that they did, and we're going to talk about, they tried to give an excuse. So this is what they're trying to excuse Stephan's PTSD. They say he has TBI.
Right.
That's what's that? Traumatic brain injury.
Right.
He said at the age of 7, he was hit twice in one sitting by a pickup truck in the head. And that's where his problems all started from. I have to not agree with that. I mean, look, I'm not a doctor. I'm not an expert in TBI, but certainly a traumatic brain injury doesn't make you an abuser. Put it that way, of a little girl, or make you, some people will claim that, CTE, or all these pro football players,
right,
these injuries are all coming up with these diagnoses years and years later. Anyway, Debra and Chris Sterns are claiming that is when all of his issues started. So there is parents, they're saying that. I'm going to play a little bit from Vinnie Politan. They're going to play some of the interview with the Sternses.
Talking about this bizarre arrangement.
It's the only thing that we knew that was wrong. and we addressed it immediately, was when we became aware of the co-sleeping arrangements. And they were here at our house. And at that point, I put my foot down and said, Madeline's not sleeping in the room with you. She's too old for that. And I said, you need to stop doing that at home too. Now I talked to both Jen and to Stephan. And Jen says, well, she comes in at night. She gets scared. She comes in at night and climbs into bed. And I can't stop her. I said, does your door have a lock on it? She said, yes. I said, well, then you use the damn lock. I mean, it's ridiculous. And then to send your child off to sleep with a man in another room in a single bed together, who is not a biological relative. And Madeline is the one that told me about the co-sleeping, not Stephan and not Jen. Madeline did. When she related, she said it was a funny story. She says, oh, I was in bed with Mom and Stephan, and when I woke up in the morning, my leg was draped over him, and she went, isn't that funny? I said, no, it's not. I don't find that funny.
So so other people are finding out about this arrangement and calling.
So that's not okay, Mike. That's not okay. Yeah. And again, when Debra Sterns finds out about it, she doesn't find it at all amusing, doesn't find it at all okay. Who would find that to be okay? Now, one of the things that I may have learned from the interview is that Debra Sterns said that when Madeline and Jennifer would be at their house, sometimes Madeline would just jump like on the arm of the chair and put her arms around Stephan and kiss him, which seemed, inappropriate to say the least. And was the way that Jennifer was allowing her to do certain things and to stay in the same bed with him in her home, did that create this false relationship of possible boyfriend-girlfriend when she started this at 9 or 10 years old? Is that what that created, Mike?
Billy, in a strange way, it's possible that Jennifer, by allowing these sorts of things to happen and thinking it was okay, it enabled him to have access to poor Maddie in a way that if everything was on the up and up, that would never have happened. But over the course of a number of years, when that happens, it's almost like as if Jennifer is either ignorantly actually assisting this guy, Stephan, in almost like grooming her daughter to accept these sorts of things. And you just wonder, like, where's her head at, and at what point does he, begin to see this as more than just a satisfactory relationship on his end, and actually in some weird perverse manner actually believe that this is okay, despite the fact that everything in society will tell you this is wrong. But in their little world, he may be messed up enough to think, this was okay in some way because maybe Jennifer was acting that way and allowing it, or at least letting it happen. That's why I think a lot of people see this and they look at Jennifer and are just wondering and can't wait until she gets handcuffed, and taken away. But that's a very disturbing revelation about that relationship. That little tidbit of information. I mean, your head explodes with like, what is going on?
Yeah, it's not okay. North Carolina nurse from the chat. His injury sounds like a typical concussion, not something that would change his personality. North Carolina nurse, I happen to agree with you, and you have more credentials than me being a nurse. Maui Swift, harassing the parents isn't right, though. You're 100% right, Maui. I just think that, the emotion maybe and the hatred directed towards the Sterns, Debra and Chris Sterns, may come out of the hatred that people have for their son based on what's happened to this little girl. And we can't tell the public, well, Maui, you said it correct. Harassing the parents isn't right. You're 100% right. And I agree with you. Let me play this. This also from Vinnie Politan.
It's not okay, but nobody still understands. That's the ultimate question. How is this happening in 2024?
Makes no sense to me. But Dr. Gail Saltz, what I want to play for you is Jen Soto responding to this question, because the detective who's investigating the murder and the sexual assault is asking Jen Soto about this. Here's what she said.
You guys are sleeping in the same bed together. You guys are all cohabitating. She's not sleeping in her room. But you felt the need to establish a rule that they couldn't sleep in the same room. But when you established that rule, for 3 years, she's already been dating him essentially.
I had
Whether that's legal or not.
I had no idea. If I knew anything, I promise you, I would tell you. Like, I am willing to take a lie detector test, whatever you want, but I don't know anything. He's never mentioned anything. I've never seen any signs. I tried watching her like a hawk. I thought I was doing a good job, but I wasn't. I was oblivious to everything. 4 years.
Minimum. That's just how that far back the cloud goes. I find it hard to believe for me that you were so worried about how many pills she took at night, but not where she slept or what relationship she was. His interest in her.
I thought we were all safe. I thought because in that he hadn't shown me anything so far, like everything seems fine. Like he seemed like he treated her like
he treats you.
Okay, Dr. Gail Saltz. And I thought, Lauren.
This detective who interviewed her, I thought he did a great job. He came at her hard when she needed to be come at hard by an investigator, because to me, it is really hard to believe that she saw nothing, heard nothing, and did nothing. I just don't buy it. And I know that there's a lot of people in the true crime community that want to believe that Jennifer Soto was 100% innocent. And there are many, I think more now, that believe she should be charged. And Mike, we've discussed this, and I feel like I'm almost like a broken record when I say this, but I believe she is complicit. And the word omission, the failure to act when you have a legal obligation to act. She did not act. She did not see the danger in allowing, starting off at 8 years old daughter, sleeping with a man who was not her dad. And even in that, that's probably not proper either. But he was a boyfriend brought into the house. Most dangers brought into a house come from the outside. That's 100% sure. And I learned that in my police career. You want a danger? Leave it outside of your house. Once you bring it into your house, then you got a real problem. Mike.
Yeah, I was looking at the chat, and Roxy made a great comment. She said, people like Stern, like an abuser like Stern, they don't choose the child, they choose the mother. And I saw that, and I was like, wow, that's a great observation, Roxy. That's fantastic, because he at some point he's looking around, perhaps in his mind, thinking, okay, there's Jen Soto and the daughter, and so therefore, if I somehow sweet talk Jennifer, I can have access to Jennifer and the daughter. And maybe what he really wants is access to the daughter more than anything else. That may be his primary mission. And for her to sit, so excellent, Roxy, thank you very much. And for her to sit there and say to the cop, I watched him like a hawk. I did everything. And then a flip of a coin say, but I didn't know. He didn't show me anything. He didn't see anything. No. You knew he was in cohabiting with the daughter. You knew that. And she even said, and the weird thing is she even said it the day that she was first interviewed by the police. She said, I told them to go upstairs to go to bed because I needed a good night's sleep. So she can't have it both ways. She cannot have it both ways, crying and then saying something else in total contradiction. It's either one or the other.
You're right. Donna Douglas from the chat. Jen is a creep. Jen started this. She allowed this to happen. Jen had no boundaries. She is a sick puppy. Wow. Roxy from the chat, Maddie was trying to tell her, but did not realize what she was trying to tell her. Be aware, a lesson for everyone. Well, children
That's true.
sometimes don't know. They're, they respect adults. They look up to adults. And when something is happening that is wrong, if it's condoned by an adult, they maybe don't see how it's wrong. And that's where the horror of this is. Cindy from the chat. One thing I can say about Stephan's parents, they did say Maddie's name when speaking about her. Maddie's mom never says her name without being prompted to do so. Like it's a bad taste in her mouth. Cindy, that's a great point. You're 100% right.
No, that's really good.
Barnabas Collins from the chat. Can we believe what they're saying? They could be lying too to get back at Jennifer Soto because their son is locked up. Well, I think though, something, Barnabas Collins, there's a part in this interview early on in the interview when both Debra and Christopher Sterns say they believe everything. They believe their son's guilty. They believe that he did all those horrific things in the 60 felonies. I won't spell it out because YouTube doesn't like that. It's the 60 felonies for the SA. And they believe he also murdered Madeline. So what else do they have to do to show that they're still on his side because it's their son? But they believe he's guilty. They believe he did these horrific things. So we cannot crucify these people. Yes, no one wants to be friends with them, but they, what are they guilty of? Bad parenting, maybe? Are they guilty of being enablers to a son that became a monster? Yeah, all of the above. But do they deserve to get punished for his acts? We'll leave that up to the Lord. Let me put this back on the screen. We'll play this.
Okay, Dr. Gail Saltz. And I thought Lauren said it so well. Like, this is 2024. Why would Jen Soto think this is okay?
I could tell you denial is powerful. And the ability to compartmentalize for a woman who wants to be with a man, who believes the man is her boyfriend, and therefore would not want to believe that her boyfriend is actually a pedophile, who would be molesting her own child. That is something that if you accept that, right, if you suspect that and believe that, then that person can't be your boyfriend anymore, needless to say. So if you think you're in love with them or you need them, this is what you see happen. Sometimes it's not even the boyfriend or the step, it's the actual biological parent who is molesting their own child. And partners, it's hard for partners sometimes to see that, even if the signs seem obvious to an outsider, because of powerful denial, believing that this person that you love, who you think loves you, is a pedophile and molesting your child.
Something else that came up in one of the interviews I want to play for everyone. And this involves Jen. To me, this is the closest to an acknowledgement, an admission by her that she knew this was very possibly happening. Take a listen.
I've always told him that my biggest fear is that this would turn into a Woody Allen situation where the stepdaughter or the dad grooms the child and the child then turns 18 and ends up running away with him. I told him that was my biggest fear and I don't ever want that happening. You can't do that to me.
Why would you say that to him?
Because I never trusted. I grew up being told never trust the man. My mom put that in my body, never trust the man.
Lauren, what was the sense you got from
that? Something we discussed that statement too, and you talk about almost like a Freudian slip.
Mm-hmm.
That was a horrific statement, acknowledging that it seemed like they had a boyfriend-girlfriend relationship. You're talking about a 12-year-old girl, a 13-year-old girl having a relationship with a 37-year-old man.
Right.
And she's somewhat acknowledging it, that she knew what was going on. That's what we would call, Mike, a Freudian slip. Would you agree?
Yeah. Yeah, Billy, it's horrific because she's saying there, and about the Woody Allen, and she's explaining when the cop asked her, "Why are you saying that? What does that mean?" And she said it, and she didn't finish the sentence. She said, "Because I didn't believe him," or something like that. And she's talking about Stern, and then she stopped and she kind of moved on to something else. But yeah, she knew and she suspected that that relationship was not a good relationship for anyone, and for her to think that on one hand that, oh yeah, this is not a good thing, but it's happening, but at the same time tell another officer, oh, he's never shown me anything bad. I trusted him. You can't have it both ways. It's really dysfunctional. And I think that's one of the things that Chris and Debra Stern picked up on when they were talking. And I think it's also in one of the emails that they exchanged with Stephan in jail about all the other men who've lived in that apartment and refer to like the relationship and the environment that Maddie was growing up in. And it's really interesting that they use her name rather than she or Maddie was. You hear very different references to poor Maddie by the Sterns compared to her own mother. The Sterns, who have no blood relationship whatsoever to Maddie, you can tell that they actually liked Maddie and they refer to her as Maddie. And I think that's pretty darn telling. But yeah, they did not like the way that that Jennifer had constructed that home environment for her daughter whatsoever. So I think they're kind of saying in some ways, look, she deserves some of the blame too. Yeah, our son did this, but also, wait a minute, there's other things going on. So trying to be a parent.
No, absolutely.
Yeah.
Bob Mellinson, she knew everything because she said she always said it would turn into a Woody Allen scenario. The glitzy Gigi from the chat, the bottom line is abusers can pick a single mom, but they know they can get around a mile away. Jen probably didn't know anything was going on. She should have, but she's a bit dim. I will agree with you, but glitzy Gigi, I don't give her a pass because it's her duty as a mom to recognize the warning signs, and she did it all. ATS News, welcome aboard. Always good to see you. Sad but true, ATS News. Folks, this is Police Off the Cuff, real crime stories. If you like real crime, true crime from a police perspective, you're in the right place. And if you're not subscribed, hit that subscribe button right on the screen. I made it so easy. Just push the subscribe button. Give us a thumbs up. Hit the like button. And if you want to contribute to us financially, we have a Patreon with 4 different levels. We also have a YouTube channel membership, which I see a lot of new channel members joining us. The channel members, there's 5 different levels. We appreciate all of our friends, our Police Off the Cuff YouTube family, for making this podcast what it is. Let me play a little bit more of this.
This is very possible, yet she still thinks it was okay for them to go off together.
Look, this is the tricky thing about one's mind, right? Some evidence can come in and you can have a moment of, oh my gosh, this is possible. And of course you hear when she thinks this is possible, it's not, oh my gosh, my poor daughter. It's, oh my gosh, poor me. He will leave me for her. That's the front of her concerns. And so you can have a moment of this leaking through, oh my gosh, what's going to become of me if this truth were there? And then, wrap it up, suppress it, push it away, try to repress those thoughts you're having and be like, no, it couldn't be happening. He says he's being good. I'm going to believe him. We see this all the time in molestation cases, in sexual abuse cases at home, in domestic violence cases at home. It's out and then you stuff it back in because it's an unacceptable outcome to you. For her, sadly, and most sadly for this poor little girl, the mom is saying in that instance, the most sad outcome would be that he would not love her. He would love the daughter and go off with the daughter.
All right, we have a lot more to get through in this.
Wow, something that is very scary. And to hear that from a psychiatrist. Danger Zone, thank you for the $5 super sticker. Yes, they deserve to be punished. Maddie spoke up to Debra and Debra did nothing. Wow. But Mike, when I worked in Manhattan North Homicide Squad, I had special victims on the same floor as us, and I would sometimes go out with them because I was the covering boss. And the cases that they have and they had were absolutely horrific. Cases just like this, and cases like this that just break your heart. And this case, I think, for so many people, it's sort of become a cause celeb about children and protecting children and how we are failing with protecting children. The nose, Judith Sturgis, no, that wasn't the ex-husband. It was Maddie's dad. He wanted to make a Maddie sandwich with his wife. I'm not sure if I agree with that. I don't know if that's true or not. Sherry Murray from the chat, but I just can't understand why Jennifer Soto told Stephan Sterns' father he needs an attorney. I can't get over that. Sherry Murray, that is so true. That is one of the hardest things that in this case to accept, that Stephan Sterns, that Jennifer Soto told Christopher Sterns after she found out about the horrific images on Stephan's phone involving her daughter. She told his father to get him an attorney. That takes the cake, Mike. And I think that psychiatrist sort of just explained it.
Yeah, she's trying to save him, and so that they would still go on together, perhaps as a relationship without Maddie. It wasn't about Maddie; it was about her and Stephan now, and she needed to protect Stephan. We all react differently to stress. Some people, cry. Some people laugh. Some people curl up into a ball. Some, that sort of thing. But when you're shown an actual picture of your daughter being abused, and the gentleman who's accused of doing it is the person you've been living with on and off for 5 years, and then what you're worried about is getting him an attorney. You never hear any references to like, hey, what's the latest on the search for Maddie? Can I help? Whatever. It's a very, very different reaction. And people just look at the reaction, the things she says and the things she does. It's almost as if, it's almost as if accepting that Maddie is gone isn't that difficult for her. She seems to be crying for herself in some ways, but not for Maddie. And that is really disconcerting. And I think Billy Politan and that psychologist he's talking to have it right on. She's spot on. It's all about her relationship with Stephan and her world with Stephan. And now it'll continue on without Maddie. And she might be pretty much okay with that.
Audrey Woolman from the chat. That's just sick, the Woody Allen comment. That for me solidified my thinking she knew. Now I have no doubt she knew. I will not be surprised if photos of her come out down the road. Audrey, I respect your opinion, but so far there are no photos at all implicating her in any of the Stephan Sterns nonsense. And having said that, I still believe she's complicit. Again, just by not acting, not reacting, omission, not reacting when you have a legal obligation to act, to be a mother, to create this environment. I also hated the environment they put this young little girl in. 4-bedroom condo. 3 of the rooms were rented out. And giving this poor little girl a room in the middle of the living room? Talk about putting, raising someone to fail. That's what that is, right? Sticking a little girl in the middle of a living room with a little barrier over her room. No privacy, people walking around, strangers in her house. Horrific place for a young girl to be raised, Mike.
Yeah, Billy, especially a girl who may have some sort of attention deficit disorder. I think at one point Jennifer said that she had been diagnosed with I'm not what's the proper term, ADHD, something like that. Yeah, that's it. And those kids need a quiet home. They need a very predictable, just like all kids, predictable, routine, warm, loving home where they have time to do homework, where they can read, where they can do nice, quiet time. And that girl was living like in the middle of a boarding house, basically. Like her bedroom wasn't even a bedroom; it was just a little divider on the part of the living room. How do you do that? How do you raise that child and say that and consider that okay? Because that child, especially because she did have some special needs that were diagnosed, you got to take care of those things. That wasn't provided, and having those strangers come in and out, that creates a sense of normlessness, and that is not good for Maddie. It's not good for any child, but especially Maddie. This is a part, I think, of what is driving Chris and Debra Stern really angry, is that they may have seen, or they were well aware of the environment that Maddie was in, and they want to have Jennifer pay for that and be arrested for that and be charged with that and be held responsible for that. And so they're trying to just kind of help their son by saying, hey, yeah, he did this. We know that. But look at what Jennifer did. She's the one that started the chaos. And we all feel sympathy. We all understand that. But that's what they're looking at. They're trying to grasp that straw to say, yeah, we accept it, but there were other people who were involved and who made it happen or let it happen. And they're not too far off when you think about it at all.
Absolutely. Emily Parkinson, thank you for gifting one police off the cuff membership to some lucky individual. Emily, thank you so much for that. We have a new member from the generosity of Emily Parkinson. You know, the Sterns has also said in this interview that they were sort of being very, very sympathetic to their son, that he's in solitary confinement. If he was not in solitary confinement, he would be dead already. Trust me, because he is at the lowest level of the prison or the jail caste system. Anyone that hurts children, especially in the way of an SA, the word gets out to the prison population, the jail population, and if he's allowed out of his cell, he will be shivved. And that's a prison term for a knife, a shiv. He will be shivved and he will not survive. So he is in solitary confinement. So the Sterns said that, and the mom was very, very sympathetic. He's still my son and I love him. And I know he did these horrible things. Right. And they still put money in his commissary. They still send him reading material. And, you know, a lot of people maybe have problems with that. But blood is thicker than water, as they say, right? So it's hard to just, no matter what this individual, and both of them said that they believe he's committed the crimes that they've alleged. They're not saying, oh, he's innocent until proven guilty. They are both saying that they believe he committed these crimes. So,
yeah.
They
never stop being parents, you know, Billy. They never stop being a parent. You know,
right. Is that a reason, Mike, that we or the general public or the true crime community hate them? I mean, you can hate whoever you want. Yeah. I don't think it's good to hate anyone. You could dislike them. Hate is too strong a word, but is that a good reason to hate them? Because they still are supporting their son. And yeah, he's a monster. He's a monster. And I struggle with that, to think about that. Mike?
Yeah, Bill, they're trying to be a parent. They're parents to that kid forever. Once you're a parent forever. And they find this despicable and disgusting and horrendous, and they're willing to admit it and say, yeah, we've come to that realization. We're not putting our head under a rock and pretending, no, he's innocent until proven guilty. We understand, but we are still his parents. And if he can get some coffee, you know, if we can get some commissary privileges, you do it because that is your child. They know that this is the end for him. He's not ever going to be out from behind those bars. His life is over, deservedly so. But they are parents, and every parent tries to do their best with their child under the circumstances in which they find that child. And I think people want them to actually publicly say, we disown him. We disown him. He's no longer, we consider him dead. He's no longer our blood, and make some sort of declaration. And they're not going to do it. And even these people who would want them to actually make a public declaration of, like, cutting him off completely and saying, yeah, publicly, he's dead to us. If the roles were reversed, they'd be trying to help their child in any way they could. I understand that. So people do have that mentality, that crowd mentality of join in on the condemnation of Stephan and his family. And you should join in too. Even though you're his parents, you should join in too. That's not going to happen. They're parents.
Absolutely not. Anna M. from the chat, she actually said, after seeing the SA photos, I still thought he was a good guy.
Right.
Wow, Anna, that's really tough to understand. And I think it goes to what that psychiatrist said on Vinnie Paulton, that it's sort of like she's in competition with her daughter, with her little 12-year-old, 13-year-old daughter, 13 at the time of her death, that Jennifer's in competition with her, and she didn't consider what was going on. But at the same time, she makes a ridiculous statement like that. It makes you think that, yes, she's involved in this. Your thoughts?
She is involved in this, no matter how she thinks about it. She is involved because she can say whatever she wants to say to the police. She can think whatever she wants to think about their relationship. The fact is, you don't get to opt out of being a parent or being a guardian. You have a legal obligation. You can't shuck that off. Nope. She's your daughter, and you have that obligation to provide for your children, to make sure that they're okay. And she just negligently or recklessly, or even if you want to say intentionally, just abandoned that because the relationship between her and her daughter and Stephan turned into some sort of weird melodrama where she's thinking it's a Woody Allen, Mia Farrow kind of thing. And, that Freudian slip just shows you right there where her head is at. So she knew all along. She intentionally totally disregarded her duty as a parent to safeguard her child from harm. And so therefore, no matter what she says, how she spins it, it doesn't matter. The fact is, she had a duty, and she failed.
Absolutely. Teresa Young from the chat. Does anyone here think Jen and Stephan Sterns made money off of Maddie's and Stephan Sterns' videos and maybe snuff film? Motive being told on pregnancy and jealousy of Jen. I believe this, in my opinion. Look, his parents, when they discovered on the jump drive, a USB drive, 35,000 images, bad images going to bad sites, they right away said that too. Is that how he was making money? Was he selling these images? So you are not the only one, Teresa, in the chat thinking that. Debra and Chris Sterns thought the same thing. So just add all of that. And, Chris Sterns cooperated with the police. He actually called them. And it turns out the night that Stephan Sterns drove to Northport from the hotel, that when the police were doing the warrant on the condo, he drove to Northport to get a hard drive out of a laptop that had some real bad stuff on it. That was what his whole purpose was, to drive there, to get that hard drive out of that laptop. And you know who told us that? Chris Sterns. And he also offered up these USB drives to the police, and he said it took them, whatever it was, 3 weeks, 4 weeks to come and pick them up. They were the ones that had the 35,000 images. So this guy was a predator. He was as bad as you get of someone that's in that horrific dark web of doing those things, Mike.
Yeah, that's the interesting thing about Chris Stern. I guess perhaps being, even though he's a parent, even though he's a parent, he does have some maybe leftover police instincts from when he was an officer for a while. And he realized that, this is my son and he's done these horrible things. And I've discovered these other things that possibly are related. And rather than throw them out, which I think a lot of parents might have, he actually called the police up and said, come and get these things. And he was right in his instincts. That is shocking, but it just goes to show you how much they have accepted, at that point, how much they had accepted his guilt. And they were not trying to cover up for their son at that point at all.
Mike, I think in a big way, though, they knew that their son was a bag of shit
They did.
without this happening, even
Yes.
before this. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
he's 37 years old. He's playing child games. He doesn't have a job.
Mhm.
He wrecked his car. He's using their car. He even needs money. He steals a Rolex watch from their house.
That's right.
He steals money this is a 37-year-old. This is their son. And of course, they have to defend him as much as they can, even though they know he's no good. He's no good. He's a piece of shit. But he's our piece of shit. If that makes any sense whatsoever.
No, it does.
And it's disgusting, and look, we can all, again, you can hate the Sterns, but they didn't do this. Their son did it, I want to play a little bit of this of Jennifer Soto, because everyone praised this detective for really going at her.
New video of the mother of Maddie Soto being asked the hard questions.
I feel like when you gave the interview with Fox 35, it was not sincere.
We've learned detectives use this interview we got with Jen Soto the day after the 13-year-old went missing.
At that point is when I called 911 because I realized something was truly wrong.
To ask her what she knew about the murder of her daughter.
Looking at that video one time, I didn't feel like your cries were sincere.
Detectives pushing and pushing her to answer the burning question.
What do you think made him snap?
But Jen finding it hard to believe that her boyfriend could do any of the crimes he's accused of doing.
I want to believe she's still alive and that she got kidnapped, but that doesn't seem like that's the case at all.
Jen Soto's boyfriend is the only person charged in Maddie's death. He was arrested 2 days before Maddie's body was found in a field.
The detectives were not convinced that Stephan Sterns acted alone, though. They pressured Jen about when she jumped to his defense, even after they showed photos of Sterns allegedly abusing her daughter. Here's a portion of that interview.
I don't believe a lot of the things you're saying, and I don't believe a lot of the things you say you weren't aware of. Not what the did he do? Not, hey, we need to figure out what happened. No, let's protect Stephan.
I wasn't shocked.
No, that's not shock. That is your natural instinct to protect Stephan. And my fear is that sense of guilt is causing you to not want to assist in the location of her.
Oh no. If I knew anything, I would so tell you. I don't care about him. I want him to go to jail. I want the worst thing possible to happen to him in jail. I know what happens to predators in jail. I'm ready for that. Please.
In a separate interview room, detectives asked Stephan Sterns about where he was and what he was doing the day Maddie disappeared. They warned him that they already searched his phone and even begged him to tell them more. But he stayed tight-lipped.
Stephan, here's what I'm asking you and pleading with you is to dig down, do some soul searching. I don't want you to discredit yourself by saying you don't know about all the pictures that are on your phone.
Should I be talking with a lawyer right now?
Again, as of today, Jen Soto has not been charged with a crime. Sterns has a status hearing in about a month.
So, we spoke about this, and many people, of course, praised the detective that was interviewing Jennifer Soto, while at the same time, they disparaged the two detectives that were interviewing Stephan Sterns. And I liked the detectives that interviewed Stephan. However, I think their strategy was wrong. and I've said this before, if you've heard me on speak about this before, their strategy was wrong because they were going after him to confess and admit to the pictures on his phone. They didn't need him to confess to that. They didn't need him to admit to that. What they did need him to do was to tell them where Maddie's body was. Because they did, at this point when they were interviewing him, they did not have her body. And he knew, of course, where the body was. But he wasn't coming across with that. So for them to go after get him to confess to the pictures, to me, that was meaningless. They should have been going after, listen, we have video of you. And tell them, I want you now just to listen, Stephan. Yes, keep your mouth shut. Just listen. We have video of you driving in your car with Maddie in the passenger seat. And she's dead. We think she's dead. Her mouth is open. She's leaning in an unnatural position. Not only do you leave the complex with Madeline dead in your front seat, at 08:19 hours, 8:19 a.m., you come back into the complex purportedly to get your clicker, and a security guard sees you, and Madeline is still in the front seat, dead. And that's all caught on video. So, Stephan, that's not it. At some point, we have video of you going into the Holiday Inn parking lot, pulling into the parking garage, backing up, opening the trunk, then opening the front passenger seat, carry Madeline's body out of the front passenger seat, and dump her into the trunk. Stephan, that is all caught on video. Do you want to tell us what happened? Do you want to just be a man for once in your life? Do you love your parents? Do it for them. Come across, we could tell them that you actually admitted to it. You did something manly for one time in your life. If at that point he lawyers up, you took your shot. But guess what? He lawyered up on them with them going after the lesser charges. So why didn't they get more aggressive and go after him for the murder? Because we all know he did the murder. So why were they messing around with the images? He's done with those. Those are self-explanatory. They did not need him to confess, make an admission to say, oh, yo, those are mine. We know they're yours. We matched them up to the inside of the house. We matched them up to your body. We matched them up to the items in the room. So we don't need you to confess. But what we do need you to do is tell us where Madeline's body is. And they never went there, Mike.
Yeah, they had the two choices at the very end. Keep going. And once they were talking about the car being seen and him throwing out the garbage in the dumpster, because they said, did Maddie have her backpack and laptop when you dropped her off? And he said yes. And then he could have then said, well, wait a minute, look, we got you on video. And we looked inside the garbage can and we found her backpack. You're lying to us. Let's stop right here. We're not just like you say. And then you go into your speech. Just listen. Don't say anything because this is what we're going to tell you. And man up. But they didn't. They kept, as you said. I guess they were tempted just to figure. Okay, I was thinking maybe they figured they could break him on the video on the pictures, and then he would then give it up for Maddie for Maddie's body location. But he didn't. He clammed up. You're right. They should have went for the swung for the fences, go for the grand slam. If he lawyers up, he lawyers up. But either way, the result is the same if he lawyers up. And if he lawyers up, and when you're talking about the photos, you missed a chance swinging for the fences and maybe getting him on the homicide and telling you where the body is. Because at that point, like you said, her body wouldn't be found for at least another 48 hours. And you lose evidence, and you want to recover her remains as fast as you possibly can, and they couldn't do that.
No, 100%. And I think it was just an error in tactics.
Yeah.
Let's go watch this for a sec.
I know that you were brought up here by detectives, right? Detectives drove you? Okay. And that was earlier today. I have no idea how long ago that was. It was sometime today. Sometime today, correct. So being that you're here, we're here, you were taken here by detectives, I just need to get this out of the way just so we can talk about how we're or where she may be, okay? All right. Have you ever been in trouble ever in your life? Yeah. Okay. Have you ever had your rights read to you at any point in your life? I must have. Gotcha. Okay. Well, I'm going to do them again just to get it out of the way, and then we can talk about school and stuff like that, okay? All right. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in the court of law. You have the right to talk to a lawyer and have them present with you while you're being questioned. If you cannot afford to hire a lawyer, want to be appointed to represent you before any questioning. Do you understand these rights? Okay, perfect. All right. So before we start talking, one last thing. Can you just raise your right hand? Do you swear and affirm that the statement you're about to give?
I have never seen this before in any jurisdiction in this world, that a detective makes a perp raise his right hand. Where's the Bible? I mean, This is what you do in court. I mean, what's he doing in the interview room? I've never seen this before, and probably will never see it again.
That's interesting. Yeah.
Is the truth, nothing but the truth, to the best of your knowledge, so help you God? Yes. Beautiful. Okay. All right. So she had a birthday recently. She had a birthday party Sunday. Is that right? Sunday, yeah. Okay. So did you come to the party? No, I was not. I was on my way up at that point. Okay. So the party ends. Did you pick them up from the party? Someone must have dropped her off. Okay. She was there when I got there. Jen asked me to make sure that the shower and did her bedtime routines, which she did. She was already on top of it, so nothing to do there. Okay. What time do you think you got back in Kissimmee? What time I got into Kissimmee? Yeah. Maybe 8 o'clock, 8:30-ish, something like that. And I apologize if you've answered these questions before. It's just like I said, we're coming into the game late, so I may ask you things that you've already answered probably 3 or 4 times. And I apologize as well. My memory is not super reliable on time frames. I've been medicated for the.
I'm so high on Ativan. I'm so medicated. That's his excuse for everything. Oh, if you're so high on Ativan, why are you driving all over the state?
Part of a week. Okay, that's fine. What do you think medicine for? Anxiety mostly. I've been having some money troubles lately. I'm anxious over that, so. Okay, well, hopefully your money troubles get better. I've been medicated on Ativan since probably Saturday. Okay, gotcha. All right, so when you got to Kissimmee and you got to the apartment, what happened? Made some dinner, made some ramen. I love how I make my ramen. Then we started watching Sister Act, but it was time for her to start getting ready. Basically, just as we were starting Sister Act. Okay. That was just about bedtime. What time is bedtime? Usually 10:30, 11-ish, something like that. It's a spectrum, not a set time. Mm-hmm. Then, so who's going through the bedtime routine? Because I know Jennifer said she had somewhat of a little routine too that she does. Is it her you're talking about? Jennifer's routine is taking her meds, eating some food so that she can have the proper calories for the meds. And then she's got about an hour to do whatever she needs to do because she needs to fall asleep at that point. Okay, gotcha. Her bedtime routine is taking her bedtime meds, brushing her hair. She should have showered that night. And then she goes to bed as well, usually with some bombs or something on in the background. burglars. Got it. What are the sleeping arrangements?
He sleeps in.
Okay. Did she sleep in her bed Sunday night?
No. I was just back. I'd been away for a couple months. Be in the same bed together, so we get some serious sleep. So she said no to that and suggested that the guest room upstairs had a big enough bed. So some snuggle cuddle time that would suffice, and Jim would get to sleep in peace.
Okay. So you say snuggle time. What does that mean?
Like to be alone. She's extremely dependent. She does not like to be alone at all. She needs human presence around her. Basically.
Gotcha.
You notice how he didn't say human contact? He said she needs human presence around her. I think he pulled that back,
Yes.
Pulled that back because, she needs a 37-year-old man sleeping in the same bed as her. Human presence or human contact, then he would actually be admitting to, well, let's play the rest of this.
We've been trying to wean her off of that, but it's been difficult.
All right. So Jennifer says up. So snuggle time with you to help her go to sleep. Is that right?
Just bedtime.
Bedtime. Okay. Did you stay in the room the entire night?
Not the entire night. I'm usually up and down sometimes. So I might go grab a drink or something, or I'm up and down sometimes.
Gotcha. But you didn't at any point go. Okay. All right. So the night goes on, morning time comes around, and the school. Walk me through that a little bit.
Morning routine. She usually starts waking up. We set about 3 alarms. The first one goes off and we let her keep snoozing.
Do you remember what time her alarm goes off? Or what?
Not really. Maybe 7:30ish. I'm not sure. Alarm goes off. We let her snooze about 3 times while we start getting ourselves ready. And after the 3rd snooze, it's time for her to get up for real and start getting ready. Typically, she will have showered the night before, so she needs to brush her hair, brush her teeth, excuse me, get her book bag together, eat some breakfast if she's going to eat there, and then we eventually make our way out the door.
Okay. So walk me through, like, you leave, you take her to school in your car?
Yeah.
Okay. And what kind of car do you have?
It's a Lincoln. It's actually my parents' car because my car is down south. It needs maintenance, and we're scared to drive it too much. So I'm driving a Lincoln right now. Got out early. The plan was to get some McDonald's on the way. So we got out nice and early.
Do you remember what time you left, roughly?
Not 100%.
From the chat, Anna M., thank you for the $4.99 super sticker. Can they get her on trafficking, essay in exchange for good sleep? She states her need for good sleep repeatedly on video. Anna M., I think what they can get her for is endangering the welfare of a child. That's the charge. And that already exists. They're just choosing not to arrest her yet.
I'm sorry. My memory has not been super reliable.
No, that's fine.
But it was early. Maybe 7:30, 7:45, something like that. I'm not sure. I'm honestly not certain.
That's fine.
The plan
was Jennifer awake when you guys left?
semi-awake, I was giving her updates as we were going along. Getting ready, she's getting dressed, we're leaving now, goodbye. She was sleeping in, so I was just giving her little updates and poking my head in as we went. But we leave the house, we start making our way to the school. Most of the time, we make our way over towards her school area. I ask her if she's still in the mood for McDonald's. She says no.
You know, I think that at some point here, as he starts doing his tap dance, as he starts lying, because the detectives know she was dead when she left the complex. The detectives know that she was dead when she came back into the complex. The detectives know that she was dead when he threw her into the trunk in that Holiday Inn. At some point, I would have stopped them and went right to what we talked about before. I'm going right to the murder right now. And Stephan, I'm going to talk right now, and you're going to keep your mouth shut. You understand? And I'm going to tell you some truths that I know. You know what the truth is, Stephan? You know what it is? That's something that will stand up to people that lie. It's undeniable. There's facts. There's evidence. You know what evidence is, Stephan? Evidence is something that makes something else apparent. All right? So I'm going to tell you what makes it apparent for us and for me and for this other detective with me. Okay, Stephan. And then we're going to go into that we have video of you driving out of the complex with Maddie's dead body in the front seat. We have video of you coming back into the complex at 8:19 with Maddie's dead body in the front seat. I have video of you at a Holiday Inn, opening the trunk, going to the passenger seat, picking Maddie's body out of the front seat, Stephan, and throwing her dead body into the trunk. Okay? Nope. Don't talk. I'm not done. Do you know where we found Maddie's backpack and her laptop, Stephan? We found it in the dumpster. You know who threw it in there? You did. You did, Stephan. Now, be a man for once in your miserable life and tell us where Madeline's body is. Because, Stephan, we know you killed her. We have tractor trailers full of evidence against you. We have video evidence. We have digital evidence. We have license plate readers. So stop the bullshit and be a man for once in your life and tell us where Madeline's body is. Would it have worked? At that point, he could have said, shouldn't I get a lawyer? Shouldn't I need a lawyer? He may have done that too at that point. But at least you hit him with those bombs because, folks, I saw in the chat before, there's going to be 2 separate trials here. The 60 felonies for what was on his phone, that's going to be a separate trial. And that's supposed to go pretty soon. For those charges, if found guilty, he can get life in prison for that. The second trial is the murder trial, which he can get the death penalty. And which I think the prosecutor is going for the death penalty. Chris Sterns and his wife, Debra, said they agree he should get the fullest penalties known to man for what he did. So there's his parents saying that. Can you imagine? That's how guilty, that's how good the state has a case against this guy. That even his parents are saying he should get the full power of the law coming down on him for what he did. Mike.
Yeah, they have come to that cold realization that that is going to happen to their son, and it's very likely to happen to the son. And you know what? They're saying he deserves it. Although they love him for all the things that he's done badly, there's still a place of love in their heart for him, and that's a parent. You know, that's what a parent does. A parent always wants to take care of their children. That's their nature of being a parent. But they also know and they're being very honest with law enforcement, very candid throughout the entire interviews that they've done. And we've seen the transcript of the interviews, the police reports of the interviews, all the conclusions that were drawn. And you can see they were very candid, very forthright. I'm sure they've had some really dark moments where they've cried their eyes out over what has happened. But they also, as much as they would like to protect their son, they also felt, bad for Maddie, because they met Maddie at least once and they liked her. They thought she was a wonderful kid. And so as a parent, you want to protect a child. So yeah, they know, they've accepted it. They were honest with the police. And I don't think you could ask any more of those parents than that. I think they traveled a tremendous distance in how they felt about their son within a couple of weeks of what had happened with Maddie.
Absolutely. Annabelle Roma from the chat. Bill, do they have tapes of him driving around? Yes, they do. They have tapes, but they also have something that's almost as important, and that's license plate readers that catch the license plate traveling in different locations, and that goes to a computer, and the computer recognizes every location that license plate appears on based on other license plate readers and gives them a printout of where he was, exact locations at specific times. How amazing is that as evidence, right? And marry that up to other videos, store video, red light cameras, all of that stuff, and you have a pretty damn good idea where he traveled. So let's go back to the interview, and just because we're getting close to when I believe he lawyers up.
Okay. Continued on. It was still pretty early, though, I think. We still had some time to kill. It wasn't really time to drop it off yet. I had apparently forgotten my clicker key fob for the gate. So I ended up actually turning around at some point and going back to the community to get the clicker. I had to use my parking sticker to get in for the guy to scan. I had some errands to run afterwards, and I wanted to have my phone. But we still had plenty of time as far as I knew. So we did that, grabbed the clicker, left again, and that's when we drove over to her school area, and I dropped her off where I dropped her off.
Okay. Do you remember where you dropped her off?
Yeah, it was the stretch of road. I forget the street name. It was the stretch of road that the school is on. Make a right onto it. It goes down a little ways. There's some communities over here, and then up further there's a church, and then there's the overpass and the school on the other side of the overpass right there. I dropped her off on that stretch where the communities are.
Was she by herself when you dropped her, or was her friends there?
Yeah, she was by herself. She said she was going to go find her friends and hang out, wait for them to show up.
Okay.
It was still early.
Where did you go after that? Like, did you see her walk towards the...
I saw her making her way towards the direction of the school, but she was like kind of shuffle steps. She was meandering her way there. She was rummaging through her backpack for something. I assume she was looking for headphones, maybe. As it turns out, she did leave her phone at home that day, so she might have actually been looking for her phone.
Gotcha, okay. What was she wearing when she left, or when you dropped her off?
Green hoodie, black shorts, black or blue, black shorts, white Crocs.
She was actually wearing jeans, so he couldn't even get what she was wearing correctly.
Crocs.
Okay. Still to come here on Court TV Live, what Stephan Sterns says happened when he dropped Madeline off at school. We now know that's a big fat lie. We're going to watch more of this.
So yes, Stephan Sterns obviously never dropped her off at school because he never dropped her off, period.
Just hung out, chit-chatted. I mean, I don't know. It's not much to recollect.
But you stayed at home pretty much all day, or no?
Pretty much until maybe noonish or 1 o'clock. I had a few errands to run, but I wanted to be back in time for us to go. So I just ran up and down 192. Ended up getting a flat at some point, which made me late to get.
Where'd you get a flat at?
Somewhere along 192.
192 is a big road.
It is, and honestly, it all looks the same to me. So I've been asked, do you remember what plaza you were next to, what color?
Folks, just so you know, the detectives know he's lying about everything. They know truths. They know what's true, and they know he is lying. So they are just allowing him to lie till they decide, all right, it's time to confront him with the truth. And that's why I had a problem with this. I felt that they should have confronted him with the murder, not with, the other things that he got visibly shaken up when they said to him, did Maddie have her backpack with her when you dropped her off? And he said, yes. And then they said, did Maddie have her laptop? Yes, she did. And then that's when they bore down and they said, they challenged him with lying. And he pretty much, because they didn't pre-schmooze him, he lawyered up pretty quickly after that.
Like, I'm ADD as it is, and I was in a medicated fog for the better part of a week. I'm lucky I remember what color I'm wearing right now.
Do you remember what errands you were running?
Yeah, I wanted to go check out some game shops.
Where were these game shops?
There's Coliseum of Comics. There's House Rule Games nearby. A lot of the Targets and Walmarts carry the game I was looking forward to. We just had a new release on Friday, so even though I don't have much in the way of money right now, I still wanted to look and see what the situation is.
It's always nice to window shop.
It is. And I'm a serial consumer. So I was just driving around up and down 192, sort of just aimlessly, honestly. Just killing time till it was time to go back.
All right, so when you got home, did you and Jennifer leave from school?
So I got home, it was 10 minutes later than Jen had wanted to. By 10 minutes, I called her and said, hey, where are you? I'm so sorry, I got a flat. She already left. She had been gone for 10 minutes. It didn't make sense for her to come back and get me. She likes to be the first in line when the kids start coming out.
Okay, then wasn't at school. So what happened? Did Jennifer call you after that, or what?
I was already on the phone with her while she was waiting. We were just chit-chatting. We do that. We just keep each other company, even if we're not physically together. And she's... That's when we started asking questions, Did she go somewhere else? Did she know that you were going to come pick her up? Did she possibly go to her office, which has kind of been what she's been doing for the past working a new schedule. So we started making all the calls. And no one had seen her yet. So that's when we started getting a lot more concerned and panicked. She drove around a little more, looking for her, looking along the walking paths, and didn't see anything. Went to her not there, waited around, not there, went back to the school, not there. At that point, the whole family started rallying up and going to.
So it's that, pretty soon he's going to be, and I'll go right to it because I don't want to hear these these TV people talk about this. Let's go right to when he starts confronting him with whether she had a backpack.
So yeah, this is not the first time she's asked me to drop her off a little ways down so she could walk up and look cool.
So you say she was conked out on the way there. You said you took her to school, or you were on her way to school. You needed to turn around to get your clicker.
Correct.
Was she sleeping then too?
She was. Yeah.
Okay.
It had been an early morning, so I figured it'd be fine to let her sleep in the car ride.
Okay. When you got back to the apartment complex, or did you go in the front gate, or because I know there's the front entrance and then the back entrance?
When I came back after forgetting my phone.
Yeah. So which way did you leave?
I would have had to go in the front.
Okay.
And the guy scanned it. And I got in and got my fob and left. I don't remember if I left out the front or the back.
Did you stop anywhere else in? No.
Not that I recall, no.
Okay. Did you take any trash out from the apartment?
When he starts getting to the nitty gritty.
The night before, yes. I think I did. I'm not sure. I took the trash out at some point, but I don't remember if it was the night before or it was the morning of. Yeah, sometimes we get trash bags piling up by the door. To see them.
Is there like a common trash place, or like is there take their trash too?
Yeah.
You don't know?
Supposedly they got video of her walking past the church or waiting at the church for a while and then leaving.
How's your relationship with her?
Great. I'm one of her favorite people in the world.
How old are you?
I'm 37. About to be 38.
You seem like a genuinely nice person.
I try to be.
Jennifer talks very highly of you. You know. So the morning school, when you came back, get your clicker. What was door?
She wasn't saying anything. She was just asleep. She was just reclined in the chair, sleeping.
Okay, explain to me, like reclining backwards?
Just laying back in the chair. Just like that, I guess.
Okay. All right. Stephan here. I'm too old to lie to people. Too old to beat around the bush.
This is when the big thing happens.
And we seem like we're having a generally good conversation right now. Okay. The only thing that I ask for from you is, and I will reciprocate, I want you to be honest with me as much as I'm being honest with you. Okay. There's cameras all over the place, as you can imagine. Nowadays, cameras are everywhere. Okay. So we see you coming in at the guard shack. Okay. We see you go by the dumpster. Okay.
I may have taken some trash with me then.
What was in the trash?
House trash.
House trash?
Yeah. So it must have been that morning then. we'll toss trash bags on the back seat, and wherever we're going on our way out, we'll drop that on the way. I think I may have mentioned to her before. I'll have to double check.
Okay. Was everything in trash bags?
I'm sorry?
Was everything in trash bags, or was there any items that were just tossed along with the bag?
I think it would have been trash bags or maybe some boxes too. Some birthday stuff, leftovers. I can't remember exactly what.
Okay. When you for school, did she have her backpack with her?
Yes.
She did. Did she have her school computer with her?
Yes. Presumably, yes.
Presumably. Okay.
Presumably,
She
yes.
should have.
Once again, this goes back with the whole honesty thing. There's things in that trash bag that got thrown away that probably shouldn't have been thrown away. Okay. We'll get that in a minute. But right now, our main focus is finding. That is our number one focus right now. Okay. Do you have any idea where she may be?
No.
None whatsoever. Okay. Something may have happened. Do you think anything?
I don't think so. I don't think what could have happened.
Okay. All right. Do you know anybody that lives in St. Cloud? Do you know where St. Cloud is?
St. Cloud, that's north or south?
East.
East.
East of Kissimmee.
I haven't been out there too much. Yeah, I'm familiar with St. Cloud.
Okay. Whereabouts in St. Cloud? Like, do you know friends out there, or?
I don't have any friends really. I've driven out there a few times before. Mostly just when I'm meandering up and down 192.
Were you out there this week?
Yeah, I was out there sometime this week. Sometimes I drive, just drive and meander around and explore. Drive till I don't know where I am, and drive till I know where I am again, and I don't know, just driving. Just it's peaceful sometimes.
All right.
If I got time to kill, I'll just drive around.
Mm-hmm. All right. So you're saying when she had her backpack, presumably her school computer was in her backpack, and you described her wearing a green jacket, some kind of dark colored shorts, and white Crocs. Okay. Well, I can confidently tell you she did not go to school with her backpack.
How's that?
Because we found it in the trash. So, Stephan, here's what I'm asking you and pleading with you is to dig down and do some soul searching. Okay? You understand? Family's pleading with you. I'm pleading with you because this is that we need to find. And it's, as more time goes by, it's tough. I have kids, he's got kids. And this little girl's out there somewhere that leading to nowhere. And I really, really, really think you can help us. I mean, you want to get something off your chest. I just don't know. I don't know what it is, but I'm pleading with you.
I don't know. I don't.
What happened?
I dropped her off.
Where?
I dropped her off on the road to school. That's the last I saw her.
Did sometime throughout the night on Sunday, did you guys have any interaction, conversations?
What, like fight?
No, I'm not saying fight. I'm just. Did you guys sit up and talk, or?
We talked while I was making ramen. She was excited about her choir performance coming up. She was singing a little bit. I told her it was pretty. It reminded me of Sister Act. That's why I wanted to show her that movie. Just talking about a crush she had on a boy.
How'd that make you feel?
Fine. She knows she's not old enough to date, but I told her crush on. Get your crush. That's healthy.
Do you think, has she had any boyfriends in the past?
Not per se, like boyfriends as however they can be early on, but we decided that she was too young and needed to avoid that BS.
All right, being that she's too young, so she shouldn't be having sex with boys. I'm saying.
She's all the that stuff. None of it counts. None of it's real. I just told her she'd be better off waiting until high school.
Disgusting. It boils my blood.
So I don't think we want to listen to the TV people talk about this. We'll talk about it. He gets confronted, right? At some point, the detective starts talking to him about the images on his phone. And that's when Stephan says, I think I need a lawyer. Should I get a lawyer? And the detective says, basically, I can't really help you with that. And so he lawyers up. So everyone that thinks that these two detectives did an outstanding job, I disagree with you guys. Okay. And I don't think they did a horrible job. I think they rolled the dice, and you can take door number 1 or door number 2. They took door number 2 when they should have taken door number 1. Door number 1 was a much more aggressive style of interview and interrogation that went right to feeding with all the evidence you have, and taking your time like they did methodically go through a lot of explaining to him. However, I don't think that this wimp reacts to kindness. I think he would react much more to assertiveness and a more aggressive detective, much like the guy who interviewed Jennifer Soto. I think his tact and his approach would have worked on Stephan Sterns. I would have confronted Stephan Sterns with Madeline's murder, and I would have gave him all the truths that we know. We saw her body in the car. She was dead when you left the complex. You came back in the complex. She was still dead. We saw you pull into, on video, we have you taking her body out of the front seat of the car and throwing it into the trunk. We have you throwing her backpack and her laptop into the dumpster. And we have your car traveling to St. Cloud and getting a flat. We have a witness saying you were changing a flat up there. So tell us where Madeline's body is. We want to know. Please be a man for once in your life. Make your parents proud of you that you did something good. Give us something that we can tell the judge so that maybe you won't get the death penalty for the murder. Maybe they'll give you life without parole. Or else you have nothing to offer this world, and we have nothing to offer you. He may have lawyered up also, but I think the aggressive approach was they had nothing to lose. Mike, your thoughts?
I think, Billy, you're right about the mismatch between the styles of the police interviewing Stephan and Jennifer. But I think, it's kind of interesting when Stephan's there. He's always got his arms crossed. He's always looking down. He's not making eye contact. And, so you got the officer acting very quiet, very calm, very, very polite to the guy. And then in Jennifer's situation, you have her, and she's sitting on the chair. She's just sitting there. She's open. She doesn't have any arms crossed her chest. She's actually probably making good eye contact with the officer. And he was actually more aggressive. And maybe he was more aggressive, the officer, with Jennifer, because she was open maybe to the aggression. And perhaps because Stephan always had his arms folded, the officer thought he needed to do it more slowly, more polite. I'm not sure. You've done this 10,000 times, and I didn't. I'd always do the kind of the interviews, the preliminary stuff right there on the street. I didn't do the secondary stuff. But it could have been a mismatch in terms of how they were trying to approach based on what maybe they saw in terms of what Stephan was giving them in terms of openness, because he definitely wasn't giving them anything. And then Jennifer, who was contradicting herself all over the place, but she was actually even at least answering in an animated way the actual questions. But it would have been great to confront them, because you don't know. Like you say, you just don't know. You want to give it your best shot. And you only have one shot, because the moment you confront them, either they're going to talk or they're going to lawyer up. And there's no in between. But, you'd always like to have that one shot, that one aggressive shot to go for the gusto.
Well, Mike, as I said earlier on, my feelings are they didn't need him to make a statement about the images on his phone. They speak for themselves. They did need him to tell them where Madeline's body was, because at that point during this interview, they hadn't recovered Madeline yet. Yeah. So that should have been their focus. Minute one, going in there, of course, methodically proceed like that detective did. I think his name was Mark, the detective. Mm-hmm. Methodically proceed, but proceed going after the murder. Proceed going after the location of Madeline's body. Try to get to his sense of self, his sense of any conscience, if he has a conscience. Stephan, do you love Madeline? And I think he would have said, yes, I do. So then tell us where her body is. Give her some dignity in death that you never gave her in life. Stephan.
Yeah.
Do that for your parents. Do that for you. Do for one last good thing you can do before you go to prison for the rest of your life. Do something that will maybe make your parents proud. Do something for that little girl who you say you love, who you killed, and her body is dumped God knows where. Be a man, Stephan. Come on, help us out. Tell us where you dumped her body. I would have went that way. And again, folks, it could he could have lawyered up even there. But luckily, there was a witness that saw him changing that tire, and that led them to where the body was, and they found it. So, guys, we covered a lot of things tonight. The Sterns, the family, Chris and Debra Sterns interview, dissected that a little bit. This is a whole horrific situation. The interview of Jennifer Soto, we touched upon that. And then the difference between that interview and the interview with Stephan Sterns, which, look, everything is going to work out, but it would have made the detective's job that much easier. And as I said, if you watch me covering this case, you watch Mike covering this case, both of us have never seen a case with this much evidence in our entire life. There is so much evidence in this case. It's like, I think he has nothing to lose with going to trial, because that's what he's going to do. It's a death penalty case. But so much evidence. Mike, your final thoughts?
Billy, I think the people should be glad that law enforcement did a great job overall in this case, and they were really professional, all of them. and they got a great amount of evidence, and they did it really quickly. And luckily, they were able to recover Maddie, and so that's huge because you need that sort of closure, and then have faith in the system that that he is going to get his comeuppance, and that Jennifer will eventually get her comeuppance too. We don't know when that will be, but I'm sure her lawyer has told her that she's on skating on very thin ice, and I think she's going to get a little bit of a punishment when she has to go and testify at probably Steph's upcoming trial. And that's going to be a lot of information will come out. More information than we know already will come out probably from her testimony. But I'm confident she will get what she deserves.
Well, thank you for your final words. Sandy in the Beach, I have to say this a little lighter. Thank you for the $5 super sticker. Hey, off topic, Bill, you haven't been to the Toronto beach? Saw someone who looked just like you walking down Main Street a while back. I haven't been to Toronto, I think, since I was in college. I went to see a Yankee game there. But since that was a long time ago. But thank you. That's really nice to know. Folks, I want to thank everyone for coming by tonight, and so many new faces in the chat. Make sure you give us a thumbs up, ring that bell, hit the subscribe button. Our universe is growing. The Police Off the Cuff family is growing, and we appreciate all you guys. And we give our opinions from a police perspective, having done this type of work. And there are many people that comment on these cases, and not all of them have the background that we have. And I'm not putting anyone down, but we've actually done this work. So I want to thank everyone for tuning in tonight. Have a wonderful night, everyone. From Police Off the Cuff, I'm retired Sergeant Bill Cannon and Professor Mike Geary. Have a wonderful night, and God bless everyone.
Good night, everyone.
One episode just ain't enough.